Every war has a moment when its direction changes. For the United States, that moment came in a harbor surrounded by calm water and quiet morning air. Before sunrise on December 7, 1941, peace existed. 90 minutes later, the world was permanently different. Before Pearl Harbor, the United States watched World War II from a distance. Europe was burning, nations were collapsing, and armies advanced relentlessly. But America remained officially neutral. Its factories produced goods, its ships sailed trade routes, and its people debated whether entering the war was necessary or simply avoidable. The Pacific, thousands of miles wide, was viewed by many Americans as a natural barrier, a massive shield protecting them from the chaos. Japan had already expanded deep into East Asia and the Pacific, seeking resources and territory to fuel its imperial ambitions. Negotiations with the US continued, but they grew increasingly tense. Access to oil, steel, and other key supplies became tools of diplomatic pressure. As diplomats talked, mistrust deepened. And while citizens slept peacefully in Hawaii, an entire fleet of aircraft carriers moved silently across the open ocean, unseen and unheard. December 7, 1941, was a Sunday. In Pearl Harbor, it was a day of rest. Sailors were waking up, preparing breakfast, and reading letters from home. The vast, empty horizon of the Pacific hid their advance like a closed curtain before a show begins. The first wave of Japanese aircraft descended like shadows breaking the morning sky. And American planes clustered wing-to-wing on the airfields, making them easy targets. Then, the explosions began. They tore through the silence, one after another, ripping into the steel hulls of the fleet. Columns of thick black smoke climbed into the air, staining the clear blue sky. Sirens screamed across the base as soldiers and sailors ran from their barracks, many unsure if it was a drill or a horrifying reality. A frantic message was broadcast, a message that would be forever written into history: air raid on Pearl Harbor. This is no drill. Within minutes, the attack spread like wildfire. Damage rippled across ships, runways, and critical fuel yards. Some of the world's most powerful vessels began to sink at their berths, while others burned for hours. On the airfields, planes struggled to take off under the sudden, overwhelming fire. The initial confusion turned into desperate urgency. Men worked frantically to save their ships, to carry the wounded to safety, and to operate any defenses they could get their hands on. The entire attack lasted roughly 90 minutes, delivered in 2 devastating waves. When it finally ended, the peaceful morning was gone. In its place was a scene of destruction, smoke, and disbelief. News of the attack traveled fast across the mainland. Radios crackled with urgent bulletins. Newspapers printed emergency editions, and stunned citizens gathered in living rooms and on street corners, trying to comprehend what had just happened. For many Americans, war had always been something that happened somewhere else, to someone else. They had never imagined it could arrive at their own doorstep. Suddenly, the Pacific Ocean no longer looked like a shield. It looked like a pathway. The next day, President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed the nation and Congress. His voice, steady and resolute, captured the shock and anger of a country that had been brutally awakened. He famously called December 7th a date which will live in infamy. His speech galvanized a united, determined response. Congress voted almost unanimously to declare war on Japan. The debate over neutrality was over. What began in one harbor quickly triggered a global chain reaction. And with so many men going to war, women stepped up to fill the void, taking on critical roles in factories, laboratories, and on assembly lines, becoming the backbone of the home front. Pearl Harbor was the spark that ignited a mobilized nation. The attack was devastating, but it was not the decisive blow Japan had hoped for. The goal was to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet and stop American influence in the region. Instead, it accelerated it. Crucially, America's aircraft carriers, the most important naval assets of the modern era, were not at Pearl Harbor during the attack. Guadalcanal, a brutal 6-month struggle in the jungle. Iwo Jima and Okinawa, bloody battles that brought American forces to the doorstep of Japan itself. Each victory was a hard-fought step toward the final phase of the war. Pearl Harbor was the beginning of this long road, not the end. But beyond the grand strategies and the staggering statistics of war, there are always the individual human stories. The stories of sailors who were just waking up to a normal Sunday morning. Their history is one of messages sent but never answered, of bravery in the face of chaos, and of profound sacrifice. For decades after, survivors continued to speak of the smoke, the noise, and the sheer terror of that day, but also of the incredible teamwork and courage they witnessed. History is made by events, but it is carried forward by the people who lived through them. Pearl Harbor reminds us how quickly peace can turn into crisis, how decisions made oceans away can reshape the lives of millions. It shows us how one single morning can redirect the entire path of a nation. The attack did not destroy America, it transformed it. It changed the country from a neutral observer into a world power, from a distant witness into an active participant, from a sleeping giant into a central force in the Second World War. A harbor that was once a symbol of peace became a turning point in world history. It was a moment that altered alliances, redrew strategies, and defined entire generations. Pearl Harbor is not just a chapter in a history book, it is a profound lesson. The world remembers so that history does not repeat. Thank you for watching. If you found this story meaningful, please like this video and subscribe for more content that explores the pivotal moments that have shaped our world.